I'm Joe Halco, Director of Community Relations for Northwestern Counseling and Support Services, and welcome to another episode of NCSS Here for You. Since 1958, Northwestern Counseling and Support Services has been providing access to high-quality services which promote healthy living and emotional well-being to the residents of Franklin and Grand Isle counties. Over the years, as the needs of the community have changed, so too have the programs and services that we make available to assist children, adolescents, adults, families, and seniors. We take our role in the community seriously, and we strive to provide a continuum of the highest quality services to meet the needs of individuals who at any point seek assistance. This month's episode is titled Autism Services That Make a Difference. This month is Autism Awareness Month. Autism spectrum disorder is made up of a group of complex neural development disorders resulting in repetitive pattern and behavior difficulties with social communication and interaction. The symptoms are present from early childhood and can affect daily functioning. Individuals with autism have widely different abilities. Some children with an autism spectrum disorder may have a serious lifelong disability. However, with appropriate treatment and training, some children can develop certain aspects of independence in their lives. To discuss the various programs and services that NCSS provides individuals diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder, I'm pleased to introduce this month's guests. They are Shauna Shappy, School-Based Autism Team Leader, April Wright, Applied Behavior Services Team Leader, and Brian Turbide, Coordinator for the Program for Adaptive and Expressive Arts. And I'd like to welcome all of you to the program this month.
Thanks.
So,
Thanks, Jim.
it is Autism Awareness Month, and I think it's, of course, the perfect time to have all of you on the program and to give our viewers a better understanding of the incredible services that we provide those that are on the spectrum. So let's begin, Shauna, with the school-based autism program. And it's known to provide applied behavior analysis services within the public school setting. But can you talk about what this looks like?
Sure. So the school-based autism program, essentially we're contracted into the public schools. And so that's either through consultation with school staff and or could also be providing one-on-one behavior interventionists, which are our staff, for those students that need that extra level of support. Currently, we are in 16 different schools within Franklin County, and we're really looking at training our staff in ABA. So we have behavior analysts on our team. We also are training our staff in ABA, and then we're using those approaches to essentially come up with individualized goals for kids within those schools, and working with the school staff and parents and families to be able to implement programming within the public school setting. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're really looking to kind of decrease what those behaviors are that are interfering with kids that are not able to access their education currently, and then teaching pro-social skills that they might be lacking so they can be as successful as they can be in the public school setting.
Sure.
So.
And April, how does applied behavior services use the applied behavior analysis to support clients from young children all the way up to the age of 22?
Yeah, so the Applied Behavior Services team is similar to what Shauna was describing in that we use applied behavior analysis to support kiddos up to age 22. The difference being that our program was designed really to target home and community-based services. Mm-hmm. So we are specifically targeting an early intervention population, oftentimes those kiddos that aren't quite school age. And then we also have after schoolers that we're also providing programming for. But our services really focus around what are the goals that the family is looking to implement within the home setting. It could be anything from safety. It could be supporting a kiddo going to medical appointments. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes we're focusing very heavily on communication, especially for our young population, giving them a mode of communication, teaching the family how to implement that in the home setting. Working very closely with outside providers, so the child might also have a special educator in their preschool setting. They might also have a speech-language pathologist, so working closely with them as well to provide services and really working as a team to wrap the child.
So in both cases so far, we truly are talking about a lot of collaboration, because whether it's schools or in the community itself, there are other entities that we're collaborating with to try to wrap services around those individuals.
Absolutely.
And Brian, the services that are provided by the Program for Adaptive and Expressive Arts, which is a program I know that was founded here at NCSS, I guess about 15, 16 years ago?
I think it's a little more than that. I'm not sure the exact year that it started, but it's creeping up on 20 years. And Program for Adaptive and Expressive Arts is actually a trademarked name. And it's housed in the Developmental Services Division, which a lot of people equate with adult services traditionally. But our program's unique in that we serve people of all ages. So right now the youngest person I'm seeing is 2, and I think the oldest person is about 75.
Wow.
So, so it's a little bit unique in our division. We do sessions, one-on-one sessions and group sessions, and they can be for art, music, or a sensory experience. Having said that, art and music are also a sensory experience as well. So people can come in and opt for the individual session or the group session. In the group sessions, primarily it's focused on skills of participation, communication, and socialization. In the one-on-one sessions, we include all of that, but it might go a little deeper into some individual skills. So another unique piece of it is that we don't just serve people from the Developmental Services Division, but we see people from CYF and really anywhere in the community. It's not limited just to people who are living with autism or people who have intellectual disabilities. Anyone can come in and enroll in the services.
And I will say, for anyone who has not seen the sensory rooms and what have you, I mean, they are amazing as far as, being able to engage individuals through whether it's light or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, we did quite a bit of research on that. We even visited the Imagination Station in Rutland and sort of took a page from how they had set up their room, and also many years of trial and error to come up with something that is really effective. So not only do we provide these sessions in-house for people, but we also do community events. So we host at least 4 community events per year. In the summertime, last year I think we did a library tour in place of our usual summer and spring sing events. And in the fall we do a recital, which highlights the people who come in for their one-on-one music and art sessions to show their artwork to the community and perform for the community. Then in December we do holiday caroling, where we visit nursing homes and other facilities. In the spring we do a spring concert, and sometimes we also do a spring sing-along event as well. So this way the people that we're serving can generalize their skills and their experience into their community.
That's terrific. So, Shauna, how do you determine what your programming looks like for each client?
Yeah, similarly to kind of what April was talking about, we're very team-centered, take a very team-centered approach. And oftentimes there are many, many players on a team. So we're really looking at the client goals, what the family is looking for, what the school team is looking for, and we collaborate and work very closely with other direct service providers too. So occupational therapists and physical therapists and special educators and speech and language. Also, if they have home and community supports, we're collaborating, with their programming as well to try to individualize their programming and really build something that is going to target all of those goals, especially within our BI model, because the staff that follows them throughout their day is able to really integrate all of those goals throughout their day. So first and foremost, oftentimes we're contracted for the behavioral aspect of it. And so we're assessing what those behaviors look like that are interfering, and writing an individualized behavior plan around those goals to target those. But then also integrating all of those other goals that are, everybody else is identifying as important for that individual. And then really, we're called school-based. However, especially with our older clients, because we can work with individuals until they're 22 if they, stay in school on an IEP and the team determines that's appropriate. So we have a lot of older individuals that we are really looking at generalizing into the community, vocational skills, and helping them to identify, what their strengths are and hobbies and jobs that they could be interested in, and exposing them to that. And we're kind of doing like some pre-job training oftentimes too, even though we're school-based outside of the school walls. And then we also have, Friday outings and things like that, where groups of, we kind of create our own social skills groups as well on Fridays, where kids from different schools are coming together and, are accessing different places in the community, or we'll have activities at the agency for them to engage in with their staff. And that's all within the school day. So if the team determines that those are really target goals for that individual, those are things that we can do too. And then we also work on life skills and, toileting and, helping the individual to be able to perform those activities of daily living to the best of their ability as independently as they can, even within the school day. So we might, go to Collins Pearly and have a fitness routine and teaching them about that. And then we're doing showering and things like that afterwards too, kind of as their alternative PE sort of credit, if you will. So yeah, it's really flexible and individualized based on who everybody, on the team is really determining what's most important for that individual. So,
So again, we get down to the fact that with all of these programs, it really does become individualized. It's not as if, it's a cookie cutter approach of, this particular model or way of doing things is the way we're going to do it for everyone. It's really geared to that individual because they're all so different. Like anyone. I mean, everybody's so different and unique, and the only way you're going to be able to assist people is to have a program that is very individualized.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's one of the common misconceptions about ABA too, is that it's this cookie cutter, one size fits all approach, and it's really the opposite of that. It's, when we have staff that are trained in behavior analysis, they're using those principles, to teach skills, but you can teach something like showering, with all of those components of behavior analysis as a part of that. So, yeah, it's one of our most important things is that programming is individualized to what that student, child, adult, young adult is, needs in life. So,
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a behavior plan for a kiddo be the same.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, to kind of build off that, it's definitely one of those things you have to take into account, not only what the literature says that appropriate intervention would be, but I think, what contextual fit is going to work for that family. Because what works for one family is certainly not going to work for another family.
Now, April, how are parents involved with the services that we provide?
Yeah, I think we tend to be kind of oftentimes one of the first service providers that a family might encounter on this journey. They often have a child that was newly diagnosed with autism, which can be very scary. And so I think what we really try to do, again, is making the family the centerpiece and talking a lot about prioritizing, what that means, because I think it can be very overwhelming at first for families. And so really taking it slow, again, prioritizing what is it that are the main goals for your child at this moment in time. Oftentimes that, like I said, tends to be communication. It can also be one of the more rewarding aspects for a family to be able to see their child communicate for the first time. So that is just a really nice building step in that way as well. And then we have ongoing support. So we also have started to incorporate a monthly parent training group for the clients that we serve. So that tends to be well attended. Oftentimes it's, we guide that and facilitate that group, but it can also be an opportunity for parents to connect with each other, which is really nice as well.
That's terrific. And I think, as with anything, having the parent involved and understanding why and what we're doing and how it all works together is critically important.
Absolutely, and we often provide pretty intensive services, especially for our younger population. We try to get in early and provide, again, intensive-based services as much as we can before they hit school age and try to close that gap. And then from there, we're consistently, working with the family on what is it that is going to be the most beneficial for this child in the home for you, and how are we going to generalize the skills that we're teaching in the center to home. So making sure that they're carrying that over so the child is consistently accessing the same strategies, whether they're with us or at the home.
Yeah, makes sense. So Brian, how might the program for adaptive and expressive arts services add to the overall support for a person living with an autism spectrum disorder?
Well, April, you mentioned communication, and that's a big piece of it. So lateral to program for adaptive and expressive arts, and also something that came out of it is a communication committee and program. And within that, we're utilizing augmentative and alternative communication modes for people who may not use verbal language. So it could be a non-electronic picture board, it could be an iPad or a tablet, it could be any number of modes. And in addition to that, we also have sign language classes, and those are not only for people who might not use verbal language, but for people who we serve who may be deaf or hard of hearing. So communication seems to be one of the first steps that we're trying to make when we see anyone we serve, and especially someone with autism who may be still developing a communication mode or has not yet developed a communication mode. There are many options available. So overall, once we can establish some sort of mode of communication, then we can start to understand what it is, how we can best serve the person, what it is they need from us for support.
Understood, makes sense. And again, very, very supportive. And I think the fact that we as an organization provide American Sign Language, and I know that there are a lot of individuals in the community who are deaf and hard of hearing, and we have been able to assist them in a lot of their needs, not just from us, but from other organizations as well. But certainly another very important part of what NCSS provides, not only individuals maybe who work for us, but the community at large.
Yeah, and also sometimes we'll use schedules to communicate with people. What's next on the schedule today? It might alleviate someone's anxiety. Sometimes we might use an iPad to try and figure out if they can identify what emotion they're feeling at the moment. So based on that emotion, maybe this next activity that we had to offer isn't the best choice, and maybe we can offer something different.
Yes. Now, Shauna, if you looked at what the ultimate goal of the school-based autism program is, how would that best be expressed?
I think our ultimate goal really is to look 10 steps ahead and kind of determine what is this transition out of our program going to look like for this individual. So our ultimate goal is to set them up for success with that transition. So for some, that transition may be going from this high intensive level of support with one of our BIs in the school back to the school staff providing with a paraeducator or something like that, or maybe fading out one-on-one support altogether if a child is able to do that. Or a transition could be preparing them for graduating from high school and transitioning out of the children's division and into developmental services, and what does that look like, or into adulthood, and what does that look like. So really our ultimate goal, even though we are school-based and we're helping them to access their education now, is really to build on all of those skills, including helping them to self-regulate and communicate, and behaviors communication, and determining how this individual can get their needs met, and be as independent as they can be, which of course is different depending on the level of need that they have, or where they fall on the autism spectrum as well. But certainly everybody can achieve some sort of level of independence in one area or another. So it's really just building that success for that transition, whatever that looks like for them. So, yeah.
Okay. And April, what are some of the ways that we've been able to support children with school readiness and that sort of
Yeah.
thing?
Again, often we're working with that really young population, as I discussed. And so that is teaching those pivotal skills, what we call pivotal skills. And so essentially what that means is just teaching things like imitation. So if we're able to break that down and teach a skill like imitation, we're setting that child up for success when they go to school, essentially, and they're able to imitate their peers that are now sitting for circle time on the rug. They have that skill and they can follow that effectively. So again, it's those skills that typically developing children tend to naturally develop, that we're really having to target and break down and make sure that our kids are ready for that transition when it happens to school.
And Brian, how does the expressive arts model work, and what is the value to the participant themselves?
Well, there's a sensory component that runs through the entire model, whether you're using art, music, or you're doing a sensory experience, or even if you're practicing communication skills. So the theory is based on some of the things that are discussed by Bessel van der Kolk and Bruce Perry, that when someone's having a sensory experience, it's touching their skin or their body, and that signal's traveling through their nervous system and eventually touching the brain stem. And so if they're in the sensory room and they're using an exercise ball or a swing, they're getting sensory feedback, and that's helping them to understand not only where their body is in the space around them, but how the different parts of their body relate to themselves, and that's called proprioception. It also, that process of being able to have a sensory experience can create relaxation to a point where it puts someone in a position where they're ready to learn. And then at that point, that's where the skill building comes in. So, so that's just one of the values to the participants. Some of the other value comes in having them be able to be included and integrate with the community through community events that we host. Also, we have a fair amount of contact with schools as well. So some of the people that we serve are school-aged. They come in, and very likely their school aide may come in with them, and then we have an opportunity to work together, bounce ideas off from each other about what's the best way to support this person. Then there's the social aspect, where if someone comes in and they experience a group, whether it's a music group or an art group, they get to meet other people. And then when they show their art in the community or perform their music in the community, then they're meeting other community members as well. So I mentioned we do a library art tour where we display art for people. So not only is the artist having a sensory experience while they're creating the art and getting this feedback, but then as they continue to observe their own art in the community, they can continue to learn from it, and that art can continue to inform them. And it can also start to become part of their personal history, because art might be one of the longest reaching records of human history that we have. It predates written language by tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years. And so it's a very deep-rooted experience.
Mhm.
And similarly with music, there are still things we don't even understand that are happening in that process.
Yeah. Well, you know, all of you have exhibited today a lot of the great programming that NCSS offers throughout the community for those that are on the autism spectrum disorder, the spectrum itself. The other thing I want to mention before we go is that Brian has mentioned a lot of the various activities and programs that they have throughout the course of the year. And we also, as an organization, have some other events and activities that are centered around autism. You know, one is coming up shortly, which is the Autism Walk, which will be held on April 28th. I'll mention that in just a moment again, but at Collins Pearly Sports and Fitness Center. We also have, which I think is just fabulous, and Mary Hill is not with us today, but the Camp Rainbow, which is held every summer. And that was specifically designed for individuals with autism spectrum disorder and other developmental disabilities to have a camp that's shaped for them to feel comfortable. As you had said earlier, Shauna, like individuals that are uncomfortable in certain circumstances because of the fact that they're put into a situation which they can't relate at the same level, you know, as maybe some of their peers. Mm-hmm. So too, this camp is phenomenal in that it is structured for them, and it gives them the opportunity for a week each summer to really have a great experience. And I know that not only the individuals but their parents just have nothing but great things to say about that experience, and how a lot of individuals look forward to that as one of the most promising moments of their year, each and every year.
Yeah, our summer programming is great here
Summer
at NCSS.
programming. We
Yeah,
have
and
other
then we
programming as
we
well.
do a summer camp as well for the clients that we support, and it's a 4-week, very intensive, lots of fun. But our staff are tired by the end of it too. It's a lot of community, a lot of play, a lot of, you know, we're also doing you know, kind of academic and school prep for the fall as well
Yes.
in the mornings too. So that's the whole month of July for clients that are currently served by the school-based autism program too. So there are
So
79 of us.
79.
79 of us this year, yes.
And we tried to coordinate the Camp Rainbow event after
Yes.
After the initial.
So it's really great.
But I
for
did
kids
want to
get
bring
that.
up
Yeah.
this summer activities because I think it's important. It helps these individuals, these students throughout the course of the entire year, as opposed to the school year, you know, that we have as a dedicated
Yeah.
period of time. So
Yeah.
all great things for helping individuals make the most of their lives. So, as I had just mentioned a moment ago, this month, to raise awareness and acceptance of individual diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder, NCSS will be holding our annual Autism Walk on April 28th at the Collins Pearly Sports and Fitness Center. Registration that day begins at 12:30. And if anybody's interested about volunteering or being a sponsor, they can contact me, Joe Halco, at 524-6554 and just ask for me. We'd be more than happy to have you involved. That would be great. And I want to thank my guests, Shauna Shappy, April Wright, and Brian Turbide, for sharing their insights on the services that NCSS provides, which makes a difference in the lives of individuals diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder and their families. I also want to thank you, the viewer, for spending time with us again this month. You can learn more about the upcoming Autism Walk plus NCSS programs and services by visiting ncssinc.org. I'm Joe Halco, and I'll be back next month with another episode of NCSS Here for You.